All right, Pete told my main man PT, what's happening, Pete? He says, which NBA players have been the biggest surprise for you this season, and which have been the most disappointing? Pick 3 in each category. So, you can go first. I know you did you did your research there and you checked.
So let me see. The most I say the big one of the biggest surprises is definitely Nurkic. That guy's playing out of his mind.
Yusuf.
Yeah. Like what he's done in that turnaround has been pretty incredible. I would actually say Paul George. Paul George is a surprise player because, you know, a lot of people did not have him ever being an MVP candidate, and I think part of the reason the Lakers missed out on him is because he was unilaterally discussed as a third-tier star, not even a second-tier star. And now he's elevated to the level of second. No, he's second-tier because he's not as good as Giannis and Kevin Durant. But he is in that, you know, the top of the second tier, which is still excellent. He can be the best player on your team, and you guys can have a real go at it. So, you know, congrats to him. That was a really, really amazing turnaround for him. And then the last one would be Brook Lopez. And it's really just the level that Brook Lopez has reached in terms of playing his role. Brook Lopez, like, it looks insane for LA not to have him right.
Yeah, because he definitely could be playing the same kind of way that he's playing.
Like, he's literally, like, if they were just as smart as Milwaukee, it's almost like you could trade places. Right?
Yeah. They could run the same way that they're running. They could do the same types of things.
Correct. What I tried to stay away from on this list was too many young players who are expected to get better. So guys like, you know,
so this is now we're talking about disappointing players.
Well, I'm talking about even for the surprising players. Okay. I'm not surprised by D'Angelo Russell. He showed flashes. I'm not surprised by De'Aaron Fox, rookie point guard. We'll see what happens. So there's a lot of guys like that I'm not surprised by. Sabonis showed signs growing into his own. But I would say those 3 players that I named are definitely the ones that were most surprising. Because even best case scenario, I feel like Paul George went over his best case scenario. Nobody saw Brook Lopez coming. Now, in terms of most disappointing players, I would say number 1, and this isn't in order, but I'm going to put Ben Simmons on the list. He's a young player, so this isn't like a lifetime sentence for him, but it's just the fact that his game not only didn't grow, but it seems harder for him to help the team. Like, it seems like the better the team gets, the more he's in the way. Literally in the way. Like, you'll see Jimmy Butler or Joel Embiid making a move in the post, and Ben Simmons is like under the basket, like it's the 1990s. And it's like, dude, get him off the court. like he looked
disconnected from Xbox Live.
So, you know, it's a little disappointing that Ben didn't have a better season, because I really do think that Ben is the difference between the Sixers being a higher seed than what they are, and what they wound up being. I'm gonna throw Jaylen Brown on there too. And with Jaylen Brown, it's not so much his game on the court. He's had flashes, he's had ups and downs, but I do think that he was one of the poutier young guys in that locker room.
Definitely.
As the stories have come out more and more and more, he seems to have been one of the major causes of a chemistry issue in Boston. And I think that and I think the difference between Boston being a 2 or 3 seed and them being what they are now is Jaylen Brown making it easier on Gordon Hayward, because of what I've been saying all year. Is Gordon, if you get Gordon Hayward to be close to what he's supposed to be, then that is a weapon you don't have on Boston. You know, last year, that going into this year complements your team in a way because of the shooting and just the overall well-rounded game of the basketball intelligence. You guys need to be patient and chill. I've criticized Boston not for their on-the-court gameplay or Kyrie Irving. This is his best year so far as an individual, but because they overreacted to a little on the court adversity. And so I think Jaylen Brown is responsible for it. And unlike Jason Tatum, he's not a second-year player. I believe this is third year. And in your third year, you should be growing. You should be growing into what you're supposed to be. You shouldn't be having these kinds of hiccups.
And you know, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the funny thing is that Jaylen Brown is actually, I think he just got appointed like the head of, or one of the heads of Players Association.
Well, he's an intelligent guy.
Yeah, like, he is.
What's happening specifically in your locker room doesn't necessarily affect how well you'll do in other things. I mean, just ask Derek Fisher, right? How well you do in terms of Players Association and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think he'll grow out of it too, which is part of the reason I'm putting him on this list. I don't think this is something he'll be for his entire career, and in that sense, and I think he's better. I think he's smarter. And he it was a fail for him, and he hurt his team. So these are two guys that hurt their teams, and they're both playoff teams. Now, what I would love to do is put John Wall third on this list because he was a.
Oh my God, boy, you're gonna find him. John Wall people gonna come looking for you.
But I'm not.
They're gonna come looking for you.
I'm not gonna put him on this list. I'm gonna have to put the one and only LeBron James. LeBron James. He's the most disappointing player. I don't think anybody saw them missing the playoffs, particularly when the last slot in the playoffs was pretty gettable. The Lakers aren't even close. The Lakers aren't even close to getting in the playoffs. So he missed 18 games, but every LeBron discussion we've had so far, I felt that if he played better defense, if he bought into Luke Walton's scheme and was like helping Luke coach up those young players, I thought this Laker team was good enough to be better than what they were. And instead, I thought LeBron brought a new level of toxicity to the Los Angeles Lakers culture that despite the terrible losing that they've had before, we haven't seen it be this bad in a long time. It's particularly on the court, in the locker room, with players that, quite frankly, are better than people have given them credit for being. Brandon Ingram is a little better than people give him credit for being. Lonzo Ball's an excellent defender, atrocious free throw shooter. He's got to fix that part of his game. But, his defense, his playmaking, his shooting was inconsistent, but it's not like he's the worst three-point shooter in the league or anything like that. If the Boston Celtics can survive Marcus Smart from the three-point line, and the Oklahoma City Thunder could survive pre-All-Star break Russell Westbrook from the three-point line, Lakers definitely could have survived Lonzo Ball from the three-point line. And they just made that as bad as it could be. And I think a lot of that was LeBron going in there and being an industry rather than being a teammate. And I thought he handled the LA situation extremely poorly as a basketball player.
Well, I absolutely appreciate your list. I really do. And the thoroughness of it was really even more impressive. Warm to my heart.
You sound like a kid who ain't do his homework.
What? I got it. I got him right here, man.
I want extra time so you can get your list.
I already got it, man.
Let's hear it. Who you got?
Let's do the surprises first, right? Mitchell Robinson. There is no way in the world that I thought Mitchell Robinson would be able to make the impact that he's making on the floor this quick.
That's because you don't pay attention. I told you at the beginning of the year, I won't be surprised if he's the second best big man out this draft, which he is. I told you that.
I don't recall that.
I know. You don't pay attention.
No, because you probably
told you he's a monster.
You probably didn't say it. That's probably why.
It's on YouTube. Sid Nation, hold me up. Find the footage.
I was probably not there for that particular episode. That was probably Kushmir in the dark. So I don't know who that was. But yes, I mean and he's just scraping the surface of what he can be as a rim runner, rim protector. And and we're not talking about just rim protection. This dude has more block shots on 3-point attempts than anybody in the NBA this year. Like the ground that he's covering is just insane. It's really insane. And the rebound athleticism is just nuts. Next, and I'm not going to put this in order. So we'll throw it out of order. But next I have Pascal Siakam. I mean, you could see last year that he was transitioning towards becoming a good player, a contributor, a consistent contributor. But I don't think anybody thought we were looking at the jump that he's had this year. I mean, his scoring average has more than doubled. His rebounds have almost doubled. He's gone up literally in every single statistical category. He went from a 22% three-point shooter to a 36% three-point shooter while taking more shots. And the dude has just been fantastic. He's 24 years old. I'm surprised that he became this just from last year. And then the other person that I am most surprised at, and I'm very happy to say this.
Oh, here we go. Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose. As much as I love Derrick, and he's my favorite player, there was nothing that I saw last year that would have made me believe that he was about to average 18 points a game.
So you doubted Derrick?
There was no reason for me to think he's about to drop 18 a game and become like the odds-on favorite to win the sixth man. There's nothing that made me think that. Now his three-point shooting has fallen miserably over the past month. Like literally, Derrick has made 1 3 since Derrick has made 1 3-point shot since January 15th. That's bad. That's bad. So his free throw shooting has dropped off a lot, but he's still scoring.
And you said odds on favorite, so you definitely have him the odds on favorite over Lou Williams.
He actually is the odds on favorite. If you check odds for six man, he's leading.
Do you think that's right? To have him over Lou Williams?
You know what? I'd have to check. I'd have to check and see how many to make sure that Lou has started. How many games he started this year?
No, he's a bench player. He qualifies.
Yeah, I know he's a bench player. I know he qualifies, but I'd have to look and see because Lou, he's actually come off the bench in every single game. 20 points, 2.9 rebounds, 5.3 assists. Derrick's shooting better.
And his team's in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I don't know if that
it matters because he's a major region and one of the most clutch players in the league. And has
I definitely think it's
at the end of a lot of games.
I definitely think it's close, but Derrick is too though. Derrick has won games, at the end. But I think it's close.
Lou,
I don't know. I think it's close. I think it's definitely close. If Lou Williams were to win, you can't cry foul. I mean, he's averaging 20 points a game off the bench.
You know why I think Lou might steal it from Derrick?
Why is that? Because
this would be historic for a guy to win it 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, like you said, it's close from an on paper kind of thing. I think Lou deserves it on the basis of when these awards are close, the person with the winning record, it leans in their direction. And in the case of a clutch shooter, it leans even more in their direction. I think Lou does deserve it over Derrick, not by a lot. I do think Derrick deserves it. I think if Derrick wins it, the story is in his favor.
Well, it wouldn't be the third time in a row. He won it last year.
It'll be the third time.
The third time.
Yeah. It'll be the third time. But yeah, I think he'd be the first guy to win it 3 times.
No, Jamal Crawford won it 3 times.
He won it 3 times? Oh, so he's trying to get into that conversation.
Yeah.
And he should be. I think he should be in that conversation.
It's a Clipper thing. Even though one of the times Jamal Crawford won it, he was with the Hawks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think Lou deserves this year, to be honest, because he was instrumental in their success, and they've had more success than this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely could not, argue and go, oh my God, they robbed Derrick. I mean, I definitely couldn't say that. I mean, Lou Williams has been great off the bench, and as a matter of fact, Rose has started some games this year. Lou Williams has not.
Oh, my man Greedy Rashid, the real 2K Insider, has some wonderful stats for us. Derrick Rose is 18-4 in 51 games on a team that's missing the playoffs. Lou Williams is 20-5 in 63 games on a team that is making the playoffs.
That's true. I mean, but then you also have to look at things like field goal percentage, free throw percentage, because the 6 man, I don't think you judge that on the same level that you would judge like the MVP. I think Rookie of the Year and 6 man are awards that you don't necessarily factor in team success. So,
again, that's a blind across the board statement. But I'm saying when the players themselves add specificity, you should. So Lou Williams has been big for them in clutch moments regularly. And that is part of the reason they have won. If he was a guy just coming in and putting up numbers off the bench, it would be different. If he was getting sat down at the end of games for some reason, like if he was, a guy who shot bad free throws, so they were sitting him, or if he was, his defense was a liability, so they were sitting him, that would be different. But when a guy's in fourth quarters causing them to win games, that should factor into his case.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like it's, like I said, it's close. And I do think that Rose's story could definitely help him. But like I said, if Lou Williams won six man, I mean, who's going? I mean, you're insane to argue that. But if Rose won, I don't think it's a travesty either.
No, it would be a travesty. Although, when you look at games played too, that'd be tough. That'd be tough.
Yeah, games played definitely matters. I mean, because Rose has sat for sure to make sure that he can continue to do what he's doing. So for sure. All right, so let's go to my most disappointed players. And of course, the names get bigger here because where disappointment, there had to be expectations. Draymond Green is on my list. The Warriors' success has somewhat hidden the fact that Draymond Green's having a pissy year. I mean, like, it's not good. It's not good at all. And not to mention that, and he's still talking a lot.
I actually really, really agree with that. The only thing is Draymond has been falling off for a bit. So it doesn't surprise me. That's why it's not disappointing, because I didn't expect him to like bounce back and get better. He's been shooting with that backpack on his back for a little while. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think he's a good pick though. And, if the Warriors don't win, Draymond's decline is the number one reason.
Yeah, it's because it's gotten to the point where now he's the weak link on the floor. It's gotten to that point where he's now the weak link on the floor. And I think he feels that, and that's why he's probably talking more, because that's just what his personality is. So some of the people on my most disappointing list are people who not just they haven't just been disappointing as in regards to their play and their production. It's also they're disappointing in the way they've handled things on their team. Not all three of them are that way, but two of them are, right? And Draymond is one of them. My next person is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is having a good year, right? All of these players that we're talking about disappointing, they're all probably having good years, right? That's just it is what it is. All of Ben Simmons' numbers, just about most of them, are either what they were as a rookie or a little bit better. But I think that's the problem, because he set such a standard for himself, and we look at him and we know that he has such talent and potential, and we expect more. We expect more of a jump, but we're still looking at a guy with a glaring deficiency as an outside shooter. And we're talking about a dude who, like, literally, you're a point guard in the NBA and you have played 148 games and you have never made a three-pointer in the NBA.
Yeah, and what the report that I read recently was that he and Embiid don't get along, and that he refuses to shoot, and the only time he shoots is to prove why he shouldn't shoot, to spite Embiid. So when he throws up those bricks, it's to be like, see, now stop bothering me about shooting. Which is, as a point guard, the point guard big man relationship is extremely important, and that is not great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I know that to me that sounds like a way to hide behind something that you can't do, and that you have some sort of deficiency before, so you look for a way to kind of like blame somebody or scapegoat out. So if he is saying that, or if that's being banded around, I don't think that's the true reason. I think the true reason is the fact that he seems like a very prideful guy, period. And you suck at this part of the game, and you're not used to sucking at anything, because everything you've always done, you're always great at it. And this particular part of the game, you suck at it. So you try to stay away from it. And it's holding your team back. It's holding you back in terms of your overall development. And also the fact that you're a 60% free throw shooter. Yeah, that's up from 56% last year, but it's well below where you need to be. And you're Ben Simmons. You're the type of talent that could be arguably the best player in the NBA. He could legit, he has the skill set, size combination that he could arguably be the best player in the NBA like in the next 2 years. He could be that, but he's not moving in that direction. If you're in your second season in the NBA and you look almost as if you've plateaued, that ain't good. And to me, that's disappointing.
Yeah. And I think the thing with Ben that's really crazy is, number one, with the three-pointer, same thing with a lot of these guys, all he needs is a corner three. He just needs to go to the opposite side when Embiid's in the post. And that spreads the floor just fine. If they can't leave you open in the corner, you're fine. He doesn't need to learn to shoot. Because he's 6'10", he doesn't need a pull-up jumper, right? Like Lonzo Ball, he needs a jumper, you know? Ben Simmons doesn't need a jumper because he's 6'10". You can't concede the lane to him. He's too big, right? It's like Giannis. Giannis, I mean, he's shooting better recently, but Giannis doesn't need to shoot because you can't concede the lane. He actually draws the defense. Whereas Lonzo Ball going up against a big man in the paint is not a favorable proposition. The key with Lonzo and Ben is they're so bad at free throw shooting. Now, Lonzo's like historically bad. But Ben is bad, and he's like LeBron. He's worse in the fourth quarter, and worse than the numbers in the fourth quarter is his attitude about driving to the basket. That's the problem. And when teams know you don't want to go to the line, you know what I mean? They know you can't shoot. And what I'm seeing a lot from him is him drifting and closing the court up. And that's why I picked him, you know, because it's not just the weaknesses in his game; it's his reaction to it.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have right now the kind of attitude to maximize his talent. To me, he has an attitude of that it seems to be like kind of resistant to advancement. And I have no choice but to think that, because you're a point guard and everybody's screaming to you about developing certain parts of your game. And it doesn't appear as though there's any work being done. I mean, because we spent a lot of time laughing at Markelle Fultz's free throw shot motion, but Ben Simmons looks like he's pulling the string on a cannon. So, I mean, I don't know. It's what it is. But the other person on my list for most disappointing is LeBron James.
Man, I'm so glad I went first.
LeBron is having a LeBron year. The thing about LeBron is that LeBron can do what he's doing now literally in his sleep. Like he's that good. He's that good. 27-7, 27-8. LeBron can literally just walk out there. He's that good. He is. I think him, Shaq, and probably Wilt Chamberlain are probably the three players maybe in history who can put up ridiculous numbers with what looks like the least amount of effort. You know, and so
I thought Anthony Davis in there too.
It don't even look as effortless for him to me, as those guys to me. But so you can look at LeBron's numbers and go, how in the world can you say he's disappointed? How can somebody be disappointed and they threatening a triple-double every night and they how can he be disappointing? You can be disappointing because you're LeBron James and your expectations are different than everybody else's. We know you do this 27-8. We know you do that. We know you are unstoppable in transition. We know you have great, vision, and we know you're an outstanding rebounder and all these different things. But what we also know is that your leadership qualities sometimes suffer in tough situations. And this year, you were at your worst, I would say, almost from a leadership standpoint. I think you were at your worst. And because of that, perhaps if you had an average 32 and 9 and 8 as opposed to your normal 27, 8 and 8, then maybe I would be like, okay, well, you know.
Well, honestly, I think the issue was partially the defense, man. Like,
oh, I didn't even get to that part.
Yeah,
The effort.
There's got to be a limit.
But
there's got to be a limit to how bad you are in defense.
But to me, I think that's part of the leadership, right? Because at some point with these young guys, what LeBron needed to do was to stop barking and just play. And just play exactly the way you're yelling at them to play. Stop standing out here and missing rotations, not stepping up on guys as they penetrate the lane. All that Mario Chalmers style leadership that you used to do, the same thing's not going to work with everybody. And these guys shut down on you, you know.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think that's an unfair criticism to the young players. Brandon Ingram had his best stretch after the All-Star. Kyle Kuzma was up and down, but not visibly.
But his effort was always there. When I say shut down, I don't mean they shut down from an activity standpoint or play. I mean, I feel like they shut down on looking at him as if he was the leader and looking at him in a way that you would expect.
See, I think that a little bit lets him off the hook. It isn't one thing, and we agree on this, but I just want to highlight it. When your defense is as bad as his is, and when you walk up the court too much, when you walk around on the court too much, individually you are hurting your team when you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? One of the things, and Russell Westbrook has already gotten credit for this, but he is literally feeding Paul George. Like he's trying to get him the MVP. When you have younger players, particularly, it's a flaw in the Lakers scheme that they didn't surround him with shooters. But he signed off on it, so I don't give him a break for that because he was like, yeah, no shooting, right? So whatever, you know, the GM. But the thing is, Brandon Ingram is much better with the ball in his hands. You have to concede and put the ball in his hand. It feels like the only reason he let Ingram play is because he was hurt, right? He was coming off an injury, so he couldn't be LeBron James for 40 minutes a game anymore. And Ingram looked fantastic. And that's what I was saying from the beginning of the year, really for years, is LeBron James is better with role players. He's not great with superstars because he doesn't let people cook. People look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was an offensive role player like Lou Williams, right? He was like Lou Williams on steroids. He didn't get to be a decision maker on the court, right? So LeBron fired him off like a gun. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about also decision making, getting into the flow, controlling the game. LeBron needs to release control of the game to a player like Brandon Ingram, particularly to either raise his value on the team so you can trade him or to make him a better complementary piece as you age. And he didn't do either one. Yeah, in addition to playing no D.
I think he did give a little bit more freedom to like I think Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving are the guys who had an opportunity to do what they do. But I think those are the only two guys that he's ever played with who had a chance to do what they do.
Kyrie will tell you he didn't get a chance to play point guard.
Kyrie ain't playing point guard now either. Kyrie is
his assists are way up.
They're up, but then he's still a scoring point guard. That's what he is.
I think people are being a little hard on Kyrie's individual play because there's a lot of times where Kyrie is letting the young guys play.
I mean, I'm not saying it as like a down or a swipe.
No, Kyrie. Let me say this. I heavily criticized Kyrie for not being a point guard, even last year. This year, I think that was a massive improvement in his game. I think he played a lot more like a point guard this year. I don't think he didn't even have that opportunity when he was playing with LeBron James. With LeBron James, he felt like a one-trick pony, and he really was.
Well, I mean, I think that just is something that happens anytime you play with a great player. I mean, shoot, B.J. Armstrong and John Paxson didn't get a chance to play. They're not Kyrie Irving, of course, but they didn't get a chance to play traditional point guard either. If you play with Mike, you didn't play traditional point guard. It just didn't.
Well, I mean, Scotty got a chance to be a great playmaker.
He got a chance to be the point forward style guy, but Scotty wasn't shooting as much as Mike. You know what I'm saying? So
it's not his game.
Right. It's not his game. It's not his game.
But Kyrie's game is to be more of a decision maker. And my point is with Lonzo and Ingram, both of those guys are decision makers. And Ingram shows some real signs. Like he looks like he could be a really good player, and I think he was more hurt by LeBron James' presence than helped by it. And I think that's the main.
I don't think that's incorrect. I do think that Ingram doesn't fit with LeBron. That's for sure. All right, so
I think he can.
Yeah, I don't think
it's not ideal, but I think he can, especially as LeBron ages.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know about that one. So I will. I mean, he's a talented guy. So I think that there's a way, because where there's talent, there's always a way. But we'll see. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it right there. We got a couple of them that are going to spill over into next week. Those last two questions were pretty good and pretty strong, so we're able to kind of riff on those a little bit longer. I feel like I'm gonna tell y'all, I was beaten down today, and it was a fight to get this show in this evening. So I appreciate everybody who came through to watch and all of that and dig what we were throwing out. So I'm hoping that everybody enjoyed it. They go ahead and share the video and all of that sort of thing, and be on the lookout. If you missed any part of the show, as usual, we'll cut it up and throw it out there in segments for the rest of the week.
I think you meant to say, Books, thank you for saving my day. You
that
picked me up tonight when I was down.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's faster if you just.
As a matter of fact, I am now feeling irregular, and I think that is probably thanks to you. You have stopped up my bowels. That is what has happened. So I appreciate everybody as usual. Y'all have a good one. God bless and peace.